afternoon. How are you guys doing today?
Good,
Good.
thank you.
How are you?
Doing good. Thanks for asking. Welcome to Real Films. So we're gonna be talking about documentary Odd Hours, No Pay, Full Hats. I gotta say, I love the title. When I first saw the trailer, I was very amazed and intrigued on what the topic was. Uh, for me, learning so much that I thought that in the states had a lot of like fire department. Everybody was getting paid, but I didn't know that there were there are more volunteers than actual fire department. Seeing the story, seeing their journey of becoming firefighters is amazing. So for Cameron, Gary, what inspired you guys to just go ahead and take upon this provided world?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, the story actually started with Peter Yoakum, who's the executive producer on the film. So he had been looking for a story to tell that would be uplifting and inspiring. And at the same time, he was learning a lot about the volunteer fire service and talking to chiefs, talking to firefighters, and understanding the scope and scale of what the volunteer fire service does and means across the country, but also just the need that there was, that the fact that recruitment was going down. They were really struggling with getting new firefighters in, and the number of calls was going up at the same time. So there was a real need for recruitment. Um, and these were just stories that hadn't been told. There were, really pretty amazing people doing this work, pretty amazing stories that had happened, and these stories had never really been shared. So there was an opportunity, he saw to make a film that shared some of these stories, but also had those impact goals of helping to recruit new volunteers. So that's when he approached us to help actually create the vision for the film and make the film itself and pull in other partners to do that work.
But how about yourself, Gary? What inspired you to take this project and be part of it?
um, well, like I say, Peter came to us with the project, but we're interested in telling stories. I mean, that's what we do. Is we've our company that Cam and I have been working together for 8 years on all kinds of documentary, film stories. This is our first feature film, but we've done lots of storytelling I mean, right out of the box, we didn't know that much about volunteer fire service. We quickly, from our conversations with Peter and our conversations with the National Volunteer Fire Council, kind of started to learn a lot about it. And then we did a casting call, and we had just to try to find the stories that we were going to tell. And we had like 800 submissions came in from all across the country, and just these heartfelt, kind of passionate stories of people's experience in the volunteer fire service and why they do it and why they love it and what they do. And I think that for us is when things really clicked, is when we heard those stories, and we just, you just wanted to meet all these people and dive into their stories and tell the story, and just realizing it was such a positive story to tell. It really is super inspirational. And I think that now is a time that people kind of need to see some positive stories, and not in kind of have faith in their fellow citizens and humans that are out there. That there are a lot of people out there who are doing a lot of good. And I think we get bombarded with divisive, negative stories all the time, and that's not it's kind of skews the reality of how things are in a lot of ways.
Well, how does it work for both of you? Because I know that you both directed film. What is initial process? How do you guys decide who starts directing, who continues directing film?
I mean, Cam, you can jump in. It's pretty seamless, honestly. We've been working together for so long. It's like, I don't even think we think of it as co-directing. We just collaborate on things. We just talk through our situations. We talk through our stories and the approach. And then on a project like this, you're doing so many interviews and there's so much work. It's kind of nice to be able to kind of go back and forth between who's doing the interviewing and who's just on camera. Cam and I both shoot as well. So we're both on cameras on the project. So, I think we're kind of developed our language that we have in terms of how we're shooting and covering the scene. So it's nice because we've worked together for so long that we kind of can understand how we're going to approach something. But I don't know, at least for me, it's just a seamless experience. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that couldn't have said it better. Yeah, it really is. We do talk through things a lot to figure out what are the parts of the story that are
And we don't
interesting.
always agree.
We don't always agree, yeah, but hopefully that makes it better when we,
Yeah.
kind of throw ideas off of each other. And we should mention also Louise Collette, who's kind of the third core member of our team, who's the casting director and associate producer, and she's really a crucial, another part of finding these stories and of shaping these stories and helping us do that. But yeah, but there's those lots of conversations, lots of talking through things. But then, like you said, when we're actually there filming, we've just done it so much together that a lot of times we just kind of know instinctively how we're surrounding a scene, how when we're in the moment, and it's something that we just have to capture. It's a lot of it is nonverbal, just kind of navigating the scene as it happens.
So I wanted to get both of your insights, at least something that I noticed in the film. Um, when you sit down and watch the film, you you notice that the film is not only trying. The film feels very personal for each person that you sit down and see them tell their stories, even for fire marshals or the fire commanders, the higher ups. I would. So, was it both of your intention to make the film feel much more personal? Like, hey, these people are day to day using their free time to volunteer and save lives than just having it be a normal, informative doc.
Yeah, definitely. I think that was always the goal, and that was, not just because we thought that would be a better story that's more compelling when you kind of get to know these people, but it also that was driven by the overall goals of the film to encourage people to see themselves in these roles. We felt like you really had to get to know these people at a personal level and spend time with them. And that's what we were doing. And, we were just so struck by those people and their motivations and their personal lives and the way that they balance these things and the way that it becomes part of their family life in some cases. Uh, and that's really, the reality of volunteering in this way is that it's not just a job, it's not just what you go do and then come home, like, it becomes part of your life, and a lot of it is just hanging out at the fire station with other people, and it's training, and it's having meals with those people, so we wanted to show that full experience of what it means to be a volunteer so that, again, so that people could see themselves doing that in some cases and stepping up to become a part of that.
Yeah, I would say the film is definitely it's an impact film. There's a desired impact for this, and it's about raising awareness. It's about kind of inspiring people to support their volunteer fire department, possibly become a firefighter themselves. But I think first and foremost, we knew the best way to do that was to make an entertaining film. So we didn't want to make a film of just kind of talking to people and being some kind of an information PSA type of a piece. We wanted to make it a film that people would enjoy and be inspired by, and that hold their attention for 90 minutes.
So I would wanted to ask, guys, got had any like minor or minor hiccups? Uh, I would say brick walls while filming.
How many obstacles, you mean?
Yeah, exactly. That's the word I was looking for.
Mm.
Um, any major brick walls? I don't think so. We worked really hard in the beginning on the pre-production. Once we kind of had our stories, we knew who our subjects were and the locations. We had many, many, many calls with people to kind of like make sure that everybody was right. We only had like 4 days in each location, so we wanted to be as prepared as possible going in. So I think we were just saying on a different call that only obstacle was just making sure that we got some calls. We weren't guaranteed to get calls. Like we were in a small town in Nebraska, where they get 43 calls a year. We're there for 4 days. The odds of us actually getting a call were fairly low in that situation, as compared to other places that are getting 10,000 calls a year. But I think other than that, I can't think of an obstacle. Cam, I don't know if you've.
Oh, I think honestly, the production, the filming of it was in many ways the easiest part. I mean, it was a lot of hard work. It was a lot of, figuring out how to tell the stories in the moment, but it was that process of finding the stories and narrowing our focus down initially, that was really challenging. And then the editing process after we filmed, where we had, 300 hours of footage from these different places we had been in. And, we knew ahead of time what the basic storylines were. We knew who the people were, but you can't know what you're going to get until you arrive there. And so then adapting to what we had found and whittling that footage down and the scenes that we got down with so many different people and figuring out how to weave that into a coherent story, that was probably the bigger challenge than the filming itself.
Uh, do you have any story that you can tell us of a moment that you guys part you ended filming Odd Hours, No Pay?
So you broke
Sorry.
up just a little bit there.
Oh,
Can you say that again?
oh, that if you guys have any like story that you guys take to heart when you ended filming Odd Hours, No Pay.
A story that we took to heart. I mean, there's so many. I think there were a lot of moments that definitely stick with me. There's one that I won't spoil it too much because it's right towards the end of the film, a particular call that happened, that was just, for us, it was a lot to experience and see and go through, and we were having to process it after the fact. But to see these, it was a group of young people, who were responding to this, teenagers in some cases, who we had just been hanging out with at the fire station a few minutes before. They were just, working out, listening to music, doing their homework, and then at the drop of a hat, they're out there, literally 5 minutes later in their community saving lives. And just to witness that juxtaposition of especially young people, I think, stepping up in that way and, living full lives as teenagers, but choosing to do that in the context of helping their communities and helping their neighbors. Um, it was just very impactful, I think, to see how what that looks like in the real world.
Yeah, I think for me, I don't know if there's like a particular moment that stands out, but it was, we shot a lot of these stories back to back to back. So we were going from, a small town in rural Nebraska to ultra Orthodox, Jewish community in New York City to, you know, not farmland, but like horse country out in, Virginia to urban center in DC, and going from each one of these stories and meeting these people, very different backgrounds, very different cultures, um, having different types of, even from the fire department, perspective, they were, doing very, very different types of things, where they're a little town in Nebraska, like anything that happened, that's what those guys were doing. In Muncie, they do only fires, in the story, and again, not to ruin the stories, but the story in Virginia was about with large animals. So it's very different in each one of these places. But there was just this unifying themes that that come through the film, I think, of just people working together, serving their communities, looking kind of for purpose in their lives, looking to be a part of something bigger than themselves. I think that was consistent from, even though these places were very different, those themes came through, and I think resonated with me.
So, Gary, and you guys have any project or can you tell our audience when the movie will be available? Or
Yeah, so the film is in theaters right now and some limited theatrical releases in a few cities around the country, New York, LA, up in Washington State, some different places. And then on the 27th, it'll be available for streaming widely on iTunes, on Google Play, on Amazon, on Vimeo. So that's the day to go check it out if you're not in any of those cities where there's screenings. It's the 27th. You can go to oddhoursfilm.com for all the information about the film. And then in addition to all of that, the traditional distribution, we're doing a lot of community-based screenings. So setting up small screenings at fire departments and other community organizations around the country, really with that goal of being in communities where there's a need for volunteers, helping people see the film, see that it's something that they could do in their own community. So there's been, close to 100 of those so far, and there's another around 400 that are in the process of being scheduled. And you can submit a request for a screening like that in your own community or at your own fire department locally. So you can do all of that through the website, oddhoursfilm.com.
So do you guys have any projects that you guys are working on, or are you guys are full on? Let's go ahead and support odd hours, no pay. Cool.
I mean, a lot of our attention has been getting this film finished and getting it out the door. And I think the other thing about this being our first feature was just the distribution process and just how much work's been involved in that part of it and getting out there and talking about it. And I think it's, it's nice to be able to finally talk to people about this film and for them to see it. So that's been a fun thing. We've got a couple other projects that are kind of in development, early development, that, one that we've been working on for years, but we'll probably start, now that we've got some time, go dip back into that one again. But this was an incredible experience, and we're looking forward to the next project, whatever that is. Next feature, hopefully. Yeah.
That's amazing. I'm so stoked that everybody gets the film on July 7th, or if there are the local as well. If you guys like Cameron mentioned, I'm gonna have the link for their website down below. Like that, if you guys have a voluntary firefighter or a place that needs it, like that, you guys can go ahead and submit. They can go ahead and show the film or so. Gary, Cameron, thank you very much for us to talk about odd hours, no pay.
Great. Thanks so much for your interest and your time. Yeah, it was great.
Bye bye.